Welcome everyone, I'm Kimberly Boscheman and this is the Intentionally Intuitive Podcast. In this episode, we're going to take a look at life paths number 6 and 33-6 and the possible influences of each zodiac sign. So throughout this video, I recommend listening to your sun, moon, and rising signs to gain greater understanding and a bigger perspective of what you could be working with in this lifetime. Timestamps are provided below, as well as calculations for figuring out what your life path number is if you aren't sure. So let's go ahead and get started. Aries, if you are an Aries sun, moon, or rising sign, and you're also a life path number 33 and 6, then this is for you. 33s, I will be referring to you as 6s throughout the reading because ultimately you are in a life path number 6. 33 is an extension of that energy. So if there's something that you need to know specifically pertaining to the 33 energy, then I will incorporate that as needed. So we're going to take a look at the higher and the lower expressions of Aries, as well as the higher and lower expressions of the 6, so that we can gain a better understanding of how these energies complement each other and potentially work against each other so that you can understand some of the challenges you may face. So Aries is a fire sign. When Aries is in its highest expression, we see passion, motivation, confidence with relentless determination. Aries is a very determined energy. Aries can also be very direct in their approach. If there's something they see that they want, they will go after it relentlessly. And we see some of the lower expressions of Aries. We tend to see lack of patience, mood alteration, quick to anger, impulsivity, aggressiveness, and martyrdom. And so let's take a look at the 6, and then you can kind of see how these energies play together. The 6 and the 33 are more introverted energy. Well, let me back up. The 6 is more introverted energy. 33 can still be introverted energy, but when you talk about the master numbers, that energy is meant to be more extroverted because your work, your presence, your purpose is meant to affect the greater community in some way or the world in some way. And so that energy is going to be more extroverted. I say that because if you were a 33, you're already going to kind of feel a push and pull with your energy. So between that introverted and extrovertedness. So 6 energy is an earth energy. It's more associated with maybe Taurus or Libra energy. I would say more closely related to Libran energy. So when we look at the positive traits of the 6, we see the humanitarian, responsibility, very responsible energy, kind-heartedness and compassion, very charitable, very balanced, creative, sympathetic and empathetic, unselfish, good to their families, and like to be at home and nurturing their family, caring for their family. That doesn't mean they can't work and all that stuff outside of the home, but they're just really drawn to that home environment. And good domestic skills, they're just a nurturer by nature. And so when we look at the negative traits of the 6, we start to see kind of like this pompous attitude. They become sort of self-righteous, outspoken. Not that being outspoken is a bad thing. And it's actually kind of nice to see that in 6 energy sometimes, but kind of to the point where they do not take other people's feelings or situations into consideration, which is not 6 energy, or not the higher expression of 6 energy. They can become overly resentful. And one of the reasons for that is because they have a hard time setting boundaries. So they become sort of a doormat for the people in their life, right, who they're trying to assist. Not intentionally, perhaps, but that often happens just because of the energy that you put forth. So they can become overly resentful. They can become this sort of dominant family member or the one who sort of sets all the rules within the family and no room for like collaboration. And they can be meddling, they can have that martyrdom. And so again, we see that martyrdom kind of come in through that Aries energy as well. So first, let's look at the lower expressions. So the negative traits of the 6 and the Aries together create sort of like this, it's sort of this wildfire energy where it gives the 6 sort of extra confidence, perhaps, but like overly confident. You know what I mean? So it creates like this forest fire. Like 6 is the earth energy, and you know that maybe that forest energy, right? And then we have Aries that's in its lower expression with lack of patience, mood alteration, quick to anger, impulsivity, aggressiveness, martyrdom, coming in and just burning it all down. And that 6 energy is, you know, with no boundaries, with dominating the family members, with, you know, becoming overly resentful. You can just see how they become sort of this force to be reckoned with, but it's so to the extreme of what they're meant to step into, right? And so you can see how that fire of Aries, when they're in their lower expression, really fuels the kindling of the 6. And so again, they could become more outspoken, more meddling, you know, like that, the parent that hovers, right, and wants to dictate to their children who and what they should be. You know, they just become an extreme version of themselves when they're in those negative traits, right? And what they find is they actually end up sort of alienating themselves or pushing people away. And with 6 energy, with it being so nurturing, it becomes this real push-pull within them because they're just nurturers by nature. And so then if they're like become this dominating energy and they have that fire of Aries behind them, again, it's like this forest fire that's out of control. So that can actually be really, really challenging for 6 energy if you have a lot of Aries in your chart and you fall into those negative traits. However, let's look at the positive energies. So again, Aries is this very passionate, motivated, confident, you know, determined energy. But then we have the 6 energy that's very balanced, creative, you know, the humanitarian, very kind-hearted and compassionate, the nurturer. And what's interesting is where I see that Aries fire really assisting the 6 energy is in giving the 6 the confidence to set healthy boundaries, to not overcommit to things that are unhealthy for them, to have the confidence to be able to show up as the nurturer, as sort of the like role model within the family, right? Like leading by example, with that solid determination to do what's best for the family. You know what I'm saying? But it's not coming from an egotistical energy. It's coming from one of like this confidence of knowing I'm standing in my purpose. This is what I'm meant to do. And setting those boundaries. Like honestly, I could just spend an hour talking about 6s setting healthy boundaries and, you know, and understanding that saying no to something because you're overcommitting, it's okay to say no. It's okay to put yourself first if you need to, you know, recoup and rejuvenate. It goes back to that filling up your own cup first. Where I also see the fire sign of Aries and that determination coming in really, really strongly and beneficially is with that 33 energy. So again, it gives 33s the confidence and the drive and the motivation and the passion to put themselves out there, right? Because again, remember like 6 energy is sort of more introverted. And so for 33s, it can be a challenge to put yourself out there to show up in the way that you're meant to show up as a 33. And Aries energy will assist you in that. It gives you that drive and that passion. And so for 6s, if you have Aries sun, moon, or rising, that may push you sort of beyond the home life, because a lot of 6s end up being like a stay-at-home parent, like the main home kind of caretaker, which is beautiful energy. Like that's kind of such a big part of their energy and what they kind of came here for as a part of that is like to take care of and nurture the extended family, their own family, the community family. And so the Aries energy actually will push that 6 to take that energy out into the public in some way, right? To do so that their work becomes on maybe a greater scale. It may look like something, you know, globally even. A lot of 6s and 33s can become like actors or in the arts or something like that, performers. And so that Aries energy gives them that confidence, that more extroverted energy to assist them to be able to do that. So it just really works really beautifully. I would say if you have Aries, Sun, Moon, or Rising, and you're also a 6 or a 33, that Aries energy is in its highest expression is going to assist you in taking that nurturing, creative, empathetic, balanced energy into, or humanitarian energy into the public in some way, into a greater forum. Meryl Streep is a 33, and 33 energy, true 33 energy, where all calculations lead to 33 energy, is incredibly rare. But 33 energy within itself is even rare. So if you're a 33, and you've got that Aries energy, like Meryl Streep, right? She became an actress or an actor. It may be pushing you to do something like that where you have greater exposure. You see what I'm saying? So beautiful, beautiful energy. To have Aries and a 6, I would say that, like I said, a highest expression is probably pushing you to take your energy into the external in some way, so that you can bring that nurturing energy to the collective in some way. Lower expression, then we see where that gets to be incredibly challenging. Now remember that the lower expression of any number, right, or any sign is not a bad thing. It's a part of who we are. It's what we're meant to experience. We're meant to learn from it. And when we fall into those lower aspects, we'll face challenges to assist us in moving and elevating beyond those lower expressions. And so anytime you fall into those, and you'll do that throughout your lifetime, it's meant to show you something. And so you just need to pay attention to whatever it's trying to show you, and whatever wisdom you're meant to pull from that energy. So overall, very beautiful complementary energy, and especially in that setting boundaries, to use that Aries fire to assist you in setting healthy boundaries and making the energy work for you. So I hope this was helpful for you. Thank you so much for listening. Take care. Taurus, if you are a Taurus Sun, Moon, or Rising, and you are also a life path number 6 or 33, then this is for you. 33s, I'm going to be referring to you throughout this reading as 6s, because ultimately that is your life path number. The 33 energy is an extension of that energy. If there's something that you need to know that pertains specifically to the 33 energy, then I will bring that up. Okay, so Taurus energy, we're going to look at the higher and the lower expressions of both Taurus energy and the 6 energy to gain a better perspective on how these energies work well together, how they work against each other, and what challenges you could face. So Taurus energy is an earth energy. When we see Taurus in its highest expression, we see this strong desire for social and corporate stability. Taurus energy is often drawn towards extravagance. They tend to like the finer things in life. They like to be content. They like to feel secure and stable. They're often very dependable. They're dedicated in both life and love. When we see the lower expressions of Taurus, we see stubbornness, not willing to take risks or leave their comfort zone. They become very predictable and rigid in their beliefs and actions. They can become very set within their ways. And often we see Taurus in their lower expression become sort of perfectionists, right? Which ends up slowing them down and hindering them from their progress. And so when we look at the 6 energy is very introverted energy. It likes to be at home. It likes to be nurturing the ones that it loves. It's very comfortable, alone or within itself type thing, the very feminine energy, right? That stillness energy. So it's a very introverted energy. I would also say Taurus is probably a little bit more, sort of leans towards the more introverted side as well. Because again, they like that security and stability and sort of that home life energy. Now, I will mention, if you're a 33, your energy is going to be way more, or is meant to be way more extroverted, because Your work, your presence, your experience is meant to impact a greater community, and therefore there's an extroverted nature to that. So you may feel sort of a push-pull energy within yourself just from the 6 and the 33 energy. Okay, so 6 energy is also considered to be Taurus and Libra energy. So you're going to see a lot of similarities between the Taurus energy and the 6 energy, higher expressions and lower expressions. And so you'll kind of see how they work together, but also how they can hold each other back. So 6 energy is also considered an earth element. When we look at the positive traits of the 6 energy, we see the humanitarian, very responsible energy, kind-hearted, compassionate, charitable, very balanced within its energy, creative, empathetic, unselfish, good to their family members, and oftentimes they will lead by example and be sort of that role model within the family. They tend to have good domestic skills. They can often be the stay-at-home parent, or the one who sort of that everybody comes to and feels comfortable talking to or opening up to in the greater family unit. They are, in their core, by their nature, nurturers. They are just the complete nurturers. Anytime you meet a 6, even when they're in their lower expression, they just sort of exude that nurturing energy. It's very, very beautiful, but very easy to take advantage of, right? Or get taken advantage of. When 6s fall into their negative traits, we start to see them become a little bit more sort of pompous, looking for flattery, sort of self-righteous, outspoken. They begin to meddle, or they become that parent that sort of hovers, right, to dictate to the child what they need to do and who they need to be and that sort of thing. They can take on martyrdom. They can tend to dominate the family members, become sort of the one that the family members fear, which is so an extreme and outside of the norm for a 6. So you know, if you're in that dynamic where your family members fear you because you're sort of that dictator within the family, then you are in your negative trait of a 6, because 6 energy is so nurturing. You know, that's not going to feel comfortable for you or them. And 6s, I think one of the biggest things when they're in their lower expression is they have a very difficult time setting healthy boundaries, which, you know, all humans do. But for 6s, it becomes even more difficult because they want to help, they want to nurture, they want to take care of, and they have a hard time saying no. And so they can overextend themselves, they can commit to things and then not be able to fulfill those, and then they beat themselves up, and it just gets, you know. So no boundaries is a big one for 6s. And then they can become overly resentful to the people who they feel are taking advantage of them. But in reality, if they could only just set some of those healthy boundaries, there wouldn't be the space for people to take advantage of them, right? And so it becomes much more empowering. So when we look at the lower expressions of the 6 and the lower expressions of Taurus, we see Taurus with that stubbornness, not willing to take risks, you know, not leaving their comfort zone. And really with that, like not leaving the comfort zone can be a big deal as far as an issue for 6s, because again, 6s feel most comfortable, you know, in their home environment. Their home is their castle. Their family is, you know, that's who they're here to nurture and take care of. If you're a 6 or a 33 and you don't have like a family, you know, your own family or an extended family, then your family becomes the greater community. You start to see yourself, you know, taking care of or nurturing people in a more humanitarian way to assist your community, to assist the greater public, however that looks. So in some way, shape, or form, you are meant to, you know, be sharing and spreading that love and that nurturing energy. And if you're in your lower expression of Taurus and you're afraid to leave your comfort zone, or you're too stubborn, or, you know, in too rigid in your ways or your thinking, you can get really stuck and secluded and sort of isolate yourself or alienate yourself from those that you are meant to be sharing this beautiful nurturing energy with. And so it just becomes where you get very confined. and start to stagnate, right? So, or, maybe you are, a lot of times when I see 6 energy, not so much necessarily 33-6. 33s, when I see 33s, I often think of like being out in the community, doing something to beautify the community, share the love, share that nurturing energy to help raise the collective consciousness. 33 is a very rare energy. You don't see, although I do see more and more, at this time in history, but it's a very rare energy. And so it's meant to be experienced by the greater population. With that said, when I see 6 energy, I often think of having children, being like a homemaker, being a parent of some sort, or being a caretaker for a family member or something like that. It's such a nurturing energy, or being the humanitarian, right? Like being out in the public or something like that in that humanitarian energy. So if you're somebody who is in your lower Taurus energy and you're restricted and confined and you're sort of hoarding all of that, and you're just become very withdrawn, that can of course be an issue for you to step into that 6 energy, and definitely an issue for you stepping into your 33 energy. So the lower expression of Taurus can just keep you really restricted and confined, is really the energy that comes out the most, and it can make you sort of, that energy needs to go somewhere. So that's where you can also see that domination come through, where you can't use the energy you were born with, like the higher expression, so it gets funneled into sort of domination and control of those around you. So you can see how those lower expressions feed into each other and just become like this really stuck, aggressive energy. Now, I will say, before we move on to the higher expressions, the lower expressions are not a bad thing. They are part of who you are. They're a part of who you're meant to be and incorporate, and you're going to experience your lower expressions all throughout your lifetime. So the thing that you need to keep in mind is when you fall into those lower expressions, there's something there for you to learn. There's something for you to learn about yourself. There's something to learn, to pull the wisdom from out of that experience. So it is not a bad thing. You are not meant to eradicate the lower expressions of yourself. You're meant to move through them, experience them, and learn from them, and to allow them to assist you to move up to the higher expression. Now, when we look at the higher expressions of Taurus and 6 energy, we see some really beautiful positive traits coming through. Again, Taurus has that strong desire for social and corporate stability. And so what's interesting is, especially I'm drawn to the social aspect. So for the 6s, so if you are a Taurus 6, then more than likely, you're going to have your experience is going to take you into a social environment in some way, so that whether it's through your job, whether it's through, just how you present yourself, or if you volunteer or something like that, you're going to have some kind of a more social, or you're going to feel drawn to have some kind of social impact, to share that nurturing, creative, empathetic, kind-hearted energy. And that Taurus energy will give you that desire and that drive to do that, right? To step outside your comfort zone and move into those spaces that maybe you wouldn't have taken yourself to typically, but it will give you that confidence to do that, to share that beautiful energy that just, you just exude. So it gives you that confidence to put yourself out there a little bit. And to see, the results in that as well. So sort of striving to see the results in that. And again, I take this back to like very humanitarian energy. So maybe you would see yourself wanting to be a therapist, and so but in a greater, maybe not just one-on-one, but maybe in something like with a community or something like that, where you're helping a tremendous amount of people at once, type thing. I don't know how it would play out, but that Taurus energy is giving you that desire and pushing you to take your talents, your innate gifts into a greater arena, especially if you're a 33. That definitely holds true for that. That's going to give you that push and that desire to do that, to step out, to be seen, and share that gift. Taurus as well, they also have that in their highest expression, that energy of like looking for contentment and security and stability and dependability. And they're very dedicated in life and love. And that is such 6 energy. So again, it just sort of compounds that energy where it gives you even more nurturing energy, and like where you're very, you become the caretaker for so many in your life, whether it's your direct family or an extended family, not in an unhealthy way, and you're able to set those boundaries, but it just really compounds that. So if you have Taurus energy and 6 energy, you may find that, again, if you don't have like an immediate family or an extended family that you're, sharing those gifts with, sharing all that love and nurturing energy with, that you do take that into some kind of, bigger forum where you can share that energy. I mean, it's like I said, they complement each other very, very well, and they just compound the energy. So again, the only thing that would be sort of a red flag, if you are even when you're in your higher expression of the Taurus and the 6 energy, because they're so similar, is just being very mindful that you are not overcommitting yourself, not overcommitting your energy or your resources, and that when you show up for someone, you're doing so with your own cup full, right? So you're not showing up depleted to where that can lead to an unhealthy or toxic relationship, or where that can lead to being overly resentful, because then you're falling into your lower expression. So set yourself up for success, especially if you have Taurus and 6 energy, because the need to nurture and care for others is going to be very strong within you with those energies. So it would be very easy for you to sort of, teeter on that line and fall into where you have a hard time setting boundaries, and then it just kind of gets out of control, and then you move into resentfulness. So just be very careful about that. But as long as you can, stay balanced, you pay attention to those boundaries, and and work with that energy. This is beautiful energy to have, the Taurus and the 6 energy together, and Taurus and 33 energy. Beautiful, beautiful energy, as long as you're not too stuck in your lower expressions. So I hope this was helpful. Thank you so much for listening. Take care. Cancer, if you are a Cancer sun, moon, or rising, and also a life path number 6 or 33-6, then this reading is for you. 33s, I am going to refer to you as 6s throughout this reading. If there's something that you need to know as a 33, I will share that information. Ultimately, 6 is your life path number, and 33 is an extension of that energy. So I'm just going to focus on 6 energy, but it all pertains to you as well. Okay, so let's look at the higher and the lower expressions of both Cancer and the 6 energies, so that we can get a better understanding of how these energies work together, as well as how they may work against each other throughout your lifetime. So if you are a Cancer, sun, moon, or rising, then you've got, Cancer is a water sign. When Cancer is in its highest expression, we see this very nurturing energy, very sensitive, compassionate, security-seeking. Cancers typically like to be at home, like to be the nurturers of the family, sort of the ones who again, are the nurturers or the caretakers. They just like being surrounded by loved ones. They often seek deep, intimate connections, and they're very loyal and protective as well. Cancer is also a very intuitive, psychic sign. Now, when we see the lower expressions of Cancer, we see they can become withdrawn, they can be overly emotional, moody, overly sentimental, vindictive, lacking emotional maturity as well. So now when we look at the 6 energy, we see that 6 energy is very introverted energy, and I would say Cancer energy is more introverted as well. So already you kind of see how these energies kind of compound or complement one another. 6 energy is seen as, let me mention too. Now, 6 energy is more introverted, but if you have that 33 energy, that 33 is more extroverted. So you are meant to, if you're 33, you are meant to be sharing your gifts, sharing your presence, sharing your experience with the greater population, right? Whether that's your greater community, the world at large, through your work, through your volunteer work, whatever the case may be. But it's 33 is more extroverted. So if you are a 33, you may feel a push and a pull between your 6 energy and your 33 energy. And so just keep that in mind. 6 energy is the astrological connection is more associated with like Taurus or Libra, but I would dare to say that there's a lot of similarities between 6 energy and Cancerian energy. So these energies complement each other very, very well. 6 energy is also mainly considered an earth energy, okay? So when we look at the positive traits of 6 energy, we see the humanitarian, the very responsible individual, kind-hearted, compassionate, charitable, very balanced individual, creative, empathetic, unselfish. They are usually the sort of the lead by example type when it comes to the family. They're good to their family, right? They're very nurturing and loving to their immediate family or their extended family or their community family, right? They usually have very good domestic skills. A lot of times they are the stay-at-home mom or the dad. They usually have, for the most part, when you see 6 energy, you think of like a family unit, right? Children, whatnot. Now, that doesn't mean you have to have children if you're 6. You could have pets. You could be, again, incorporate the greater community in some way. However it presents itself for you. But 6s at their core are nurturers. They are going to be the caretakers. They're going to be the nurturers. It's just part of who they are. It's like asking them to not nurture somebody is asking them to step away from who they are at their core. And so when we look at the positive traits between Cancer and the 6, you see so many similarities, right? That like home life balance, that security seeking, the deep intimate connections, the loyalty, the protectiveness, that nurturing, sensitive, compassionate energy. So again, Cancer and 6 energy at its highest expressions just really complement each other. It's just compounds that energy of nurturing, right? And so it's like if you have Cancer and 6 energy, I would say, I could see you as like a nurse, a therapist, a stay-at-home parent, somebody who volunteers with a community or with, in some way, someone who is rescues animals or something like that. You know what I mean? Someone who can use all of that nurturing, sensitive, compassionate energy and put it to good use, right? To help lift the vibration of the collective in some way. So together they are very beautiful, beautiful, beautiful energies. Now, when we look at the lower expressions, this is where it gets a little bit challenging. So 6 negative traits, we see sort of overly resentfulness. They become overly resentful because they feel like they're being taken advantage of. And what they don't realize is the reason why they're being taken advantage of is because they've failed to set healthy boundaries, right? Because again, you get this very nurturing caretaker energy who cannot help but want to help, right? They want to assist. So they have a hard time saying no. They have a hard time setting limits, setting boundaries, not overcommitting, that sort of thing. And then if they have a hard time doing that and they overcommit and they're overgiving, right? Not only can that be suffocating for the other person, but that can create a situation where they start to feel like they're being taken advantage of. And it just comes back to, have you set your healthy boundaries? So no boundaries is a very big lower expression of both the Cancer energy and the 6 energy, being able to set those healthy boundaries. With 6s, we also see they become more meddling. They want to like control the situation. They, again, sort of start hovering over their friends, family, whoever it is that they're trying to quote unquote help, but they are actually meddling, right? It's like there's a fine line between assisting somebody and meddling, right? They can become the martyr of the situation as well. Like, if I don't save the world, who's going to do it? It's up to me. I've got all this pressure on me, whatever the case may be. And reality is, everybody's out to save themselves. They need to save themselves. And so you're there to assist and to help lift and help with the resources and that sort of thing, but not do the work for the person. So when we look at the lower expressions of Cancer, withdrawn, overly emotional, moody, overly sentimental, vindictive, lacking emotional maturity, we can see how these Cancer being a water sign really just sort of pulls that earth energy deep into the water and sort of drowns it, right? It just gets so stuck in its emotions, in its, if it's a 6 energy in its lower expression, in its resentment, being that martyr, whatever the case may be, but it keeps that energy very stuck and very internalized, right? So it's like whatever's brewing within them, because with Cancer, if you're in your lower expression, you can be emotionally immature. And that means that your emotions control you. You have no control over your own emotions, and those emotions dictate your actions, right? So you become very reactionary. And so again, it just creates a situation where you can have a lot of frustration, aggression, and become more dominating to those who are close to you, but you're also so withdrawn that you're not getting yourself out into the community, into the public, or whatever the case may be, which becomes even more of a challenge and more of an issue if you're a 33, because like I said, that 33 energy is more extroverted. It's meant to be out there. It's meant to be, sharing its energy with the world. And if you are stuck in lower Cancerian energy and lower 6 energy, you're very withdrawn and like that over emotionally moody energy. And that just becomes very challenging for the relationships in your life, as well as, doing the work that you came here to do. So with that being said, the negative traits are not a bad thing. They are a part of who you are, and they're not going anywhere. You can't remove them from who you are, right? They're a part of you. They're a part of the energy. It's just that through your experiences, through the challenges, you will learn to work with that energy and manage it, right? And so, and use it to help you to elevate yourself higher into a higher octave. Because when you're in your higher octave of Cancer and 6, that is just such nurturing, beautiful, compassionate energy. You just think of like a Mother Teresa, or, just the matriarch of a family. And the matriarch doesn't have to be gender specific, right? It can be male, female, whatever the case is. It's an energy, but it's very that divine feminine energy, and it's very nurturing and beautiful and needs to be shared. And so, it's very beautiful energy to have Cancer and 6. It's just when you get in those lower expressions, you just got to be careful, and be aware of, how you're holding yourself back and sort of keeping yourself from sharing those gifts, especially also as a 33. Okay. So I hope this was helpful in just highlighting for you the higher and lower expressions and sort of what you came here to work with and learn from and to use as you move through your journey. So thank you so much for listening. Take care. Bye for now. Gemini, if you are a Gemini sun, moon, or rising, and you are also a life path number 6 or 33-6, then this reading is for you. 33s, I'm going to refer to you throughout this reading as 6s because ultimately that is your life path number. 33 is an extension of that energy. If there is something that you need to know specific to the 33 energy, I will let you know. So let's go ahead and take a look at the higher and the lower expressions of both Gemini and the 6 energy to get a greater perspective for how these energies work best together, as well as how they can potentially work against each other. So Gemini is an air sign. When we see Gemini within its highest expression, we have this very adaptable, easygoing, intelligent, outgoing, and social energy. Geminis are very perceptive, they're analytical and inquisitive. They're also highly passionate about whatever it is that they put their mind to that creates a spark from within. When we see Gemini within its lower expression, we see indecisiveness, impulsivity, unreliability, difficulty in planning things, tendency to be inconsistent in many areas within their lives. Now, when we look at the 6 energy is more of an introverted energy. I would say Gemini energy feels more extroverted, but 6 energy is much more introverted. Now, with that being said, if you are a 33, understand that you're going to have that introverted 6 energy within you, but then you're also going to have the more extroverted energy of the 33. 33 energy is meant to be seen, heard, experienced by a greater population, right? Anytime you get into those master numbers, they are meant to be seen, heard, and experienced. So you may feel sort of a push and pull between your own 33 energy and your own 6 energy. So 6 energy is a little bit more introverted. When we look at the astrological connection, we see more similarities between like Taurus and Libra for the 6th energy, and the 6 is considered a earth element. So when we look at the positive traits of 6, we see the humanitarian, a very responsible individual, kind-hearted, compassionate, charitable, balanced, creative, sympathetic, unselfish, and good domestic skills. They're usually the ones who enjoy being the caretaker, being the stay-at-home parent, being the one who, again, is that caretaker of their immediate family, their extended family, or their community at large family. 6s are very, very nurturing. That's one of their core aspects, is they are the nurturer. They are the caretaker. That's just such a part of their being that it's not something they can easily shut off. And so where that can kind of lead into some issues, of course, is that can sometimes, if it's done without invitation or without permission, it can feel a little overwhelming to those who, who the 6 wants to nurture or care for. And what the 6s generally and 33s generally will run into is this inability to set boundaries. So let's look at the negative traits of the 6. So when the 6 is in its lower expression, we have this energy of becoming overly resentful, and they often become overly resentful because they feel like they are being taken advantage of. However, typically when we look at why they are being taken advantage of, so to speak, it can be because they fail to set healthy boundaries. So not having boundaries, not setting healthy boundaries, is a big lower expression of the 6 energy. And it's something they need to learn to do, to work through those emotions of how to do that, what that feels like, so that they don't overcommit or deplete themselves and then become resentful for that experience, right? Or resentful towards the other person for quote unquote taking advantage of them, when in reality, they may have overcommitted themselves or overextended themselves when they should have been setting healthy boundaries. Some other negative traits of the 6 are they can become meddlers. They become so like wanting to channel that nurturing energy that they try to control or meddle in other people's business or affairs uninvited, right? And that becomes a little bit invasive. They can also be the martyrs, like have martyrdom, right? Where it's like they feel like they have to carry the weight of the world, that they have to save the world, all of that stuff. And again, that's just that all of that nurturing energy not being channeled in a healthy way, right? Let's see what else. And so when we look at the higher expressions of the 6 and Gemini, we see, again, this very adaptable, easygoing energy that's very, social and perceptive and analytical and inquisitive. And so again, you have this 6 who you could see using that Gemini energy to do something great within the world, as the humanitarian, as, someone who, through their volunteer skills, through their career, through whatever the case may be, but showing up in the greater arena in some way where they are lifting the vibration, right, of the collective just through being who they are. And when you incorporate those Gemini skills of, again, that adaptability and being so easygoing, 6 energy is so easygoing when it's in its highest expression anyway. People are typically drawn to 6s because, again, they're just so nurturing and comforting to be around. And they're very easygoing. But when we look at the Gemini energy, it just sort of compounds that energy, but it also brings in that social nature, right? That sociability. And so that assists the sixth energy in sort of stepping out of its shell a little bit and taking all of that nurturing, empathetic, humanitarian yumminess into the external world. And that when that happens, then more people get to experience that energy. And it's just such a beautiful energy. Now, remember, sixes would have to make sure they have healthy boundaries so they're not overcommitting, because the more people that you incorporate into your experience, the more opportunity you have to overgive, overshare, overstep boundaries. And so when you bring in that Gemini energy, that air energy, that social energy, that's sort of pushing you to network, to make new acquaintances, to share that humanitarian energy, that charitable energy. It becomes a very complementary energy. You just need to make sure that you keep those boundaries in place and you're not overcommitting. So at the highest expression, we see like the Gemini sort of where sixth energy might become a little bit too grounded. The Gemini energy, that air energy, helps to sort of lift it up from its limbs a little bit, right? So you still have the roots in, but it just extends you into the cosmos a little bit more. It just extends you into the air a little bit more, right? It like just extends your branches. If you're the tree, you've still got your roots as a six, but that Gemini energy just helps you to expand your limbs, your branches. And so it just extends your reach of how you're able to share that beautiful nurturing energy of the 6 and the 33. So again, Gemini energy is so complementary when it comes to 33 energy, which again is a little bit more extroverted because it helps you with that social side. It helps you with that perceptivity, being perceptive. It helps you, being able to be a little bit more outgoing and to share that passion and to be a little bit more adaptable with this situation, whatever may come up, right? Because again, if you're a 33, as you move through your life, if you are able to step into that 33 energy, you're going to find yourself in some kind of situation where you are interacting with or have some kind of experience with the greater community. And that Gemini energy will just assist you with that, which is beautiful. Now, of course, when we look at the negative traits of Gemini and the 6, we start to see how this can be, it can start to wreak some havoc, right? So Gemini lower expression, we have indecisiveness, impulsivity, unreliability, tendency to be inconsistent, that sort of thing. Well, when we look at like impulsivity, unreliability, indecisiveness, that just compounds those issues for the 6 of not being able to set boundaries, for, becoming overly resentful, for not being able to channel that nurturing, caring energy into a space where it's healthy, as opposed to using that indecisiveness, that impulsivity, that unreliability, not, taking that energy from Gemini, the lower expression, and then becoming more dominating, like, not being able to express themselves the way that they're meant to express themselves as a 6. And so they become more frustrated and resentful, and they start dominating the people who are in their lives, right? Like who are sort of, I don't want to use the word stuck, but you know what I'm saying? Like who are in your immediate family, because you're not channeling that energy in a healthy way. So it just becomes very, it feels very chaotic. It's almost like you don't know what to do with the energy. And so you need to find you need to feel grounded in some way. And so the only way to do that is by becoming overly resentful and dominating the people within your life. You know what I mean? Or meddling, or trying to, or becoming invasive type thing. So it just goes against those higher expressions of the 6 and the Gemini energy. With that said, there's nothing wrong with the negative traits, the lower expressions. They are a part of who we are. We're meant to experience them. We're meant to move through them. We're meant to learn to manage them and recognize them, right? Like recognize when we're a 6 and we're meddling, or we're trying to dominate the people within our lives, or we were not able to set healthy boundaries. or we're indecisive or impulsive when we should have a little bit more self-control, or whatever the case may be. So it's not that there's anything wrong with those lower traits. They are a part of who we are. They're a part of who we signed up to be. We just need to learn to work with them and manage them, and then use them to help us elevate ourselves into those higher octaves, because it's in those higher octaves that we will feel the most aligned, like we were in purpose, and we will be able to do the most good, right? So again, the higher octaves of Gemini and the 6 and 33 work beautifully together. They really work in tandem. They assist each other. The Gemini pushes the 6 to spread its wings a little bit more, to share all that beautiful, nurturing energy. And so it works really, really well together. It's just when you start getting into those lower expressions, which is the same case with every sign, but you can kind of see how it plays out when you have Gemini in the mix. So I hope that this was helpful in just kind of highlighting those higher and lower octaves and what might show up for you and how to recognize them. And then you will, through your experiences, figure out how to manage them, how to work with them, how to use them to your benefit and work with them, as opposed to having them work against you. So I hope this was helpful. Thank you so much for listening. Take care. Leo, if you are a Leo sun, moon, or rising, and you are also a life path number 6 or life path 33-6, then this reading is for you. 33s, I will be referring to you as 6s throughout this reading. Since 6 is your life path number, the 33 energy is an extension of that number. If there's something that the 33s need to know specific to that energy, I will let you know. Okay, so let's look at the higher and the lower expressions of both Leo and the 6 energy, so that we can get an understanding of how these energies work together, as well as how they may work against each other. So Leo is a fire sign. When we look at the higher expressions of Leo, we see natural born leadership, natural drive and ambition, compassion and big hearts, generous with their time, energy, and money, very self-assured and confident. When we look at the lower expressions of Leo, we see they can be egotistical, stubborn, arrogant, dominating, possessive, jealous, pompous, and they can be very self-absorbed. It's a very sort of me energy. Now, when we look at the 6, we see that it's a very more introverted energy. 33 energy is a bit more extroverted. It's meant to be seen, experienced, all of those things. And so if you're a 33, you're going to feel a little bit of push-pull between that introvertedness and that extrovertedness of your own life path. So when we look at the 6 energy, we see that it is an earth energy. So we have the fire energy of Leo and we have the earth energy of the 6. So they can very well fuel each other, but those energies can also get out of control very easily. So let's keep that in mind. So the astrological connection to the 6 is more associated with Taurus or Libra energy. So just keep that in mind. Positive traits of the 6, we see the humanitarian, responsible, kind-hearted, compassionate, very charitable, balanced within their nature, very creative energy, sympathetic and empathetic, unselfish, good to family, good domestic skills. They often have the bigger families, or if they don't have a big immediate family or extended family, they're usually, within the community, and that's their family, and they're nurturing and caring for the greater community in some way. And so they're usually surrounded in some form by people or animals or someone that they can care and nurture for. So when we look at the lower expressions of this 6, we see they can be very overly resentful. And oftentimes the reason why they're resentful is because they feel taken advantage of. But if they were to look at the situation, they'd probably see that if they were to have set healthy boundaries, then they could have prevented or minimized that sense of feeling taken advantage of, because they were able to stand in their power and say no and not overcommit, right? 6 energy, just by its nature, is just so nurturing and loving that it just wants to give, it wants to do, it wants to assist. And that can create a dynamic where it's very difficult for those sixes to say no, to not take it all on, because they feel that within their core that they should, right? That's just part of their essence. However, it's also necessary with all of that nurturing energy to set healthy boundaries, because if you don't do that, then you overcommit. When you overcommit, then it's easy to start resenting the people you're overcommitting to, right? And so we can also see sort of this like meddling energy with the sixes, where it's like they don't have an outlet for that nurturing energy, and so they just start meddling or become invasive in other people's lives. And so it's really important to make sure that any assistance or caring that you're putting forth has been invited in or has been permitted by the person you're trying to care for. So when we look at, again, Leo, it's the lower expressions of Leo, we see that more egotistical, stubborn, like more pushy energy, like very dominating. And one of the lower expressions of sixes can be that they begin to dominate their family members, those people closest to them, because again, they're not expressing their nurturing energy in a healthy way. And so the way that it gets channeled is through domination, right? Like wanting to control, wanting to meddle, wanting to dominate what people think, do, or experience. And typically it's their family, that the people closest to them, who they feel like they have some level of control over. Now, when you couple that with the Leo lower expression, that can get really, intense. Because again, you've got that really aggressive, sort of egoic, stubborn, arrogant, possessive, jealous energy of the lower Leo, with that dominating, no boundaries, sort of overly resentful, self-righteous energy of the six, the lower expression of the six. And so it becomes this really toxic, unhealthy situation for not only the six, but the people associated with the six. It can get out of control really, really quickly. Now, you can see this even like express itself in a work environment. Like if you are working for a six who is fully in their lower expression of both Leo and their sixth energy, they can be a bear to work for, because it's just their way or the highway, and just the micromanaging energy, just all of that stuff that people just feel sort of repelled by, right? And so again, when you think about sixth energy, it's very nurturing, loving, the caretakers, right? And creative, right? There's this life force energy moving through them. It's very similar to like the Empress energy in tarot. It's just very mothering, like motherly energy, divine feminine energy, nurturing, loving, etc., etc. So if you're falling into this more like dominating, aggressive, overly resentful, self-righteous energy, you're in your lower expression, right? Or you can tell when someone, if you have a family member who is a 6 Leo, then you can tell when they're in their lower expression. And so with that being said, it's important to mention that the lower expression is not a negative thing. It's part of who we are, right? Those aspects are part of what makes up the whole. The point of it is we're meant to learn to recognize when we're in our lower expression, be aware of it, but then also learn to manage it, to work with those energies, to make them work for us as opposed to against us, to help elevate us into our higher expression. Now, when we look at the higher expression of the 6 and the Leo, it's actually really powerful, especially Leo and 33 energy. I can just see how that would be, lighting the fire beneath that 33 energy to push you out into the public in some way, to share your gifts with the public in some way or the greater community, right? And so it really lights that fire. And Leo likes to be in the spotlight, right? It likes to be seen. I don't know what Meryl Streep's zodiac energy is or sign is, but Meryl Streep is a 33-6, and 33s are very, very rare. That you rarely see 33s. And she is, of course, an actor. And so I wouldn't be surprised if she had Leo energy within her astrology chart, just because, again, Leo likes to be in the spotlight, needs to be seen, wants to be heard, is very expressive, all of those things. It's like the sun energy. And then with being a 33, she is, just through her presence, you are lifted in some way. She beautifies the experience in some way. And so that Leo energy would really push her, or you, if you're 33, into the spotlight in some way. It doesn't mean you have to be an actor, but you're just sharing your presence, your energy with a greater forum. Leo with 6 energy, again, would give you that passion, that drive, that leadership energy to maybe lead a humanitarian effort, right? Like I could see like a Leo who also is a 6, starting some kind of program that really assists people on a bigger, in a bigger arena, right? Like, so just helps the masses as opposed to just the family unit. So that Leo energy is going to give you that natural leadership energy to where you can take that nurturing, creative, very empathetic, kind-hearted energy, charitable energy, and funnel it into something that will assist people on a greater stage, or, on a greater platform. So whatever that looks like, but that Leo energy, that fire energy, is going to be the fuel that the 6 needs to help it to be a little bit more extroverted in its approach. So Leo energy, we have more sort of what feels like masculine energy, and then 6 energy is that more feminine energy. So when they work together, they balance each other very beautifully, right? Like the more masculine Leo energy lifts up the feminine 6 energy to be able to allow it to do its work, right? It supports that energy. So it's just very, very supportive. It gives it the drive to take the action, to do the work. And so it's very, very beautiful energy. But again, when we look at the lower expressions, we can see where that can just become a forest fire out of control, and can just be, like wounded masculine with wounded feminine butting heads and coming to a head. And that can be very challenging energy to work with. But in its higher expressions, the Leo energy is just a great cheerleader for the 6 energy to assist it in doing what it came here to assist you to do. Same thing with that 33 energy, especially with a 33 energy. If you're 33 with Leo energy, you came to accomplish some pretty big things in this lifetime. I mean, you did anyway, if you're a 33. I mean, we all did. But you got that master level energy as well. And then you've got Leo, which is this like just fire energy. You're meant to be out in the public in some way, or your work is, right? Make that distinction. Your work, your purpose is meant to be out there in some way. And really with 33s, it's like your work is you. It's like you're just being who you are exudes, the energy that you need to exude to sort of lift the vibration and all that stuff when you step into that 33 energy. Anyway, I hope this was helpful in sort of highlighting those higher and lower expressions for you and seeing how they kind of work together, how they can suppress each other and work against each other, so that you kind of know what you have to work with in this lifetime. And again, there's no bad at all. It's just figuring out how to work with the energy and find your balance within it. So I hope this was helpful. Thank you so much for listening. Take care. Virgo, if you are a Virgo sun, moon, or rising, and you're also a life path number 6 or life path 33-6, then this reading is for you. 33s, I will be referring to you as 6s throughout this reading because your life path number is a 6. The 33 energy is an extension of that energy. If there's something that pertains specifically to the 33 energy, then I will let you know. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at both Virgo and the 6 energy at the higher and the lower expressions to see how these energies complement each other, as well as could potentially work against each other throughout your lifetime. So Virgo is an earth sign. When we see Virgo at its highest expression, we see this very humble, practical, industrious, kind, empathetic, very methodical and quick thinking energy. Virgos are often hardworking and responsible, and they have big, big hearts. Every Virgo that I know, and I know a lot of Virgos, they each have such big hearts and are such giving people. When we see Virgo in its lower expression, we see people who are overly critical of themselves, of others. They become the perfectionists. They become overly systematic and rigid in their thinking and their actions. They also become pessimistic. They can be stubborn or overly meticulous. Now, when we look at the 6 energy, we see this very introverted energy. And so now if you're a 33, you will feel the push and pull between your 33 and 6 energy, because 6 is more introverted, 33 is more extroverted. 33 energy is meant to be seen, experienced, by the masses, right? By the greater community, by the world, whatever. So you're going to feel a little bit of push-pull between that 33 and that 6 energy to begin with. But the 6 energy is an earth energy as well. And it's also tied into more Taurus and Libra energy. But really, there's very powerful similarities between the 6 and Virgo as well. So being an earth energy, you've got that coupled with the earth energy of Virgo. So already you're seeing very grounded energy, which is very complementary of one another, but can also be a little bit dense and maybe a little suffocating. And so we'll look at that. So the positive traits of the 6 are the, humanitarian. They're very charitable. It's a very kind-hearted and compassionate energy. So you couple that with that big heart of the Virgo, and that just, magnifies that energy. They're a very responsible energy. They are balanced, creative, empathetic, unselfish, and usually good domestic leader or domestic skills. Usually see 6s who tend to have a lot of children, or they are the caretaker for an extended family member or even greater community, right? Like maybe they don't have their own family unit, but they are part of a greater community and they are the nurturers of that greater community. Now, when we see the 6 energy, again, if I had to pick a word to sort of highlight and describe 6 energy, it would be the nurturer. Very nurturing energy, caretaking energy, which is beautiful. And then you couple that with that Virgo energy, which again is also empathetic, also very kind, big-hearted. But then you also have that hard-working, sort of practical, humble energy of the Virgo, which will drive the 6 to do its humanitarian work, right? To do its charitable work, to, be that solid foundation that the family needs. Whether you're the stay-at-home parent, or you are the leader or the owner of a humanitarian effort, right? The Virgo energy is going to give you that drive, that dedication, that work ethic that assists you in sort of looking at things a little bit more practically as well. Because again, if you're a 6 or a 33, it would be very easy for you to sort of have rose-colored glasses a lot of the times, like seeing the world through that lens. And I think that the earth energy of the Virgo, or the more practical energy of the Virgo, because 6 is also earth, but the more practical energy of the Virgo will help you to sort of, and also, that more like analytical energy of the Virgo will assist the 6 in seeing things for how they really are and knowing how to work with those, with whatever comes up, right? Whereas the 6 sometimes, because they're so giving and so nurturing, just really want to see the good in everybody and everything, which is a beautiful trait to have, but it can sometimes lead to situations where they feel like they're being taken advantage of. And so I think the Virgo energy, again, with that, it's so more practical and just more methodical and analytical a little bit, will assist the 6 energy in sort of seeing things a little bit more clearly for how they are, so that they can make some more sound decisions when it comes to how they invest their time, their resources, their energy. So when we look at the negative traits of the 6, we see this very overly resentful energy and no boundaries, right? And so one reason why they potentially become overly resentful is because they're not setting boundaries. They're not saying no. They're not, understanding their limits. They're not, they're overcommitting their time and their energy and their resources. And then they blame that on the person who they're overcommitting to, as opposed to stepping back and saying, okay, my plate is full. I can't take any more on. I need to say no. And that person can sort of deal with it. And so they just get themselves into a situation where instead of taking the responsibility and standing in their own power and setting those healthy boundaries, they become resentful and then sort of see everybody is sort of taking advantage of them. And they can also sort of step into that martyrdom where it's like, the world is on my shoulders. I have to save the world. I have to do everything. Everybody is relying on me. And again, it just goes back to, are you setting healthy boundaries, right? Like, why do these people feel like they can come and take? Is it because you're giving, right? Now, core aspect of the 6 energy is a nurturing caregiver. That's just what it is. You're always going to have that sense to like assist and help and do and care for and nurture other people. But again, you have to have those healthy boundaries to keep you healthy and sane. We can also see in the lower expression of 6, them like when the nurturing energy can't be sort of channeled or funneled into something healthy, we see this more meddling energy or this dominating energy where it's like, to those people close to you, you'll start sort of bleeding into their lives a little bit, where you become like this invasive energy and you just sort of start to meddle in like and dictate to others how you feel they should be living, what you feel they should be doing. A lot of judgment comes into play. And again, it's just because that nurturing, empathetic, sort of heart-centered energy is not being channeled in a healthy way. And so it turns into, again, that more meddling energy. And when we couple that with the lower expression of Virgo, and then we get that overly critical energy and that perfectionist and like really rigid in their thinking and very stubborn and pessimistic and overly meticulous, that's just like that is an energy just that will just keep you stuck. And that's what I mean. It's like this overly grounded, overly rooted energy where it's so dense and so heavy that the people around you can't breathe, you can't breathe. It just becomes very, very heavy, very restrictive energy. And you, especially as a 6 and a 33, you're meant to be sharing that nurturing energy, that beauty with the world, right? With like a greater audience. And so even if you're a 6 and you're not in a greater arena, that's okay. Yours could be like the home life, the family unit, or like I said, an extended family or community at large. But if you're a 33, you're meant to really step into something, or your work is into something that is going to have an impact on a greater community, the world even, right? And so if you fall into those lower expressions of Virgo and you become too rigid, pessimistic, too overly critical, that is really going to ground you. You are going to be like a rusty truck who's just out in the field somewhere, just grounded. You know what I mean? So it's like it's really hindering you from stepping into that more light energy of the 33. And if you're a 6, then it just sort of compounds that energy where you start to meddle in other people's lives, that overly resentfulness, that dominating the family members, that comes in really strongly. And when we couple that with Virgo, again, you just see like this person who is very controlling, wants to control the situation, wants to control what their family members do, think, what they become, all of those things. And it becomes not only really restrictive for the 6, but very restrictive for the people who are within their sphere. And so it can become really toxic very quickly. Now, with that said, and I say this in every reading, the lower expression, the negative traits are not bad. They're not something that, we are meant to get rid of. They're part of who we are. We're just not meant to be fully in them and sit in them. We're meant to experience them, feel them, maneuver through them, figure out how to work with them, how to use them to elevate us into our higher octave. Because it's within that higher octave that you're going to see everything start to fall into place. You're going to feel like you're on purpose. You're going to feel so much better. when you're in those lower expressions, you're going to feel pretty crummy. And the people around you are going to feel pretty crummy. It's going to affect your relationships. It's going to affect your experiences. And so again, it's not that there's anything wrong necessarily with those expressions. It's just they're not meant to sort of take over. You're meant to experience them, learn from them, recognize them, and be aware of them, and then again, use them to help elevate you into those higher expressions of yourself. So hopefully this has been helpful to kind of show you what some of those higher and lower expressions are of both Virgo and the 6 and 33, so that you can be aware of them when you start to fall into them, or if you're seeing your relationships be impacted by those experiences, right? Because 6 energy is so much about relationships and, other people, and, how you're showing up to those relationships, and and what you'll accept from those people as well. And so, yeah, it just becomes an energetic exchange, obviously, but when you're in those lower expressions, it can really wreak havoc. It can cause a lot of, like I said, it's just a lot of density. So hopefully this has been helpful. Thank you so much for listening. Take care. Libra, if you are a sun, moon, or rising sign Libra, as well as a life path number 6 or 33-6, then this reading is for you. 33s, I'm going to be referring to you as 6s throughout the reading, because your life path number is 6. The 33 energy is an extension of that energy. If there's something that pertains directly to the 33 energy, then I'll be sure to include that as well. Okay, so let's take a look at the higher and the lower expressions of Libra and the 6 energy, so that you can get an idea of how these energies work together, how they play well together, and how they may create some challenges for you. So Libra is an air sign. When we look at the higher expressions of Libra, we see beautiful energy of the peacemaker, fairness, idealistic, social and friendly, the diplomat, intelligent. They like to find solutions to problems, and often they do so with ease. They can be very forgiving, very trustworthy, and incredibly tactful. When we look at the lower expression of Libra, we see moodiness, dishonesty, indecisiveness, neediness, egotistical behavior, self-indulgent, untrustworthy, detached and unemotional, vain and selfish. And so when we look at the 6 energy is more introverted in nature. Now, if you're 33, then you're going to feel the more extroverted nature of the 33 energy, and that could create a little bit of a push and pull within you between your 6 and 33 energy. Again, 6 energy is more introverted. 33 is meant to be seen, experienced by the population, right? By like a greater community. And so it's a little bit more extroverted in nature. Now, when we look at the 6 energy, what's interesting is it's also considered, its astrological connection is also considered to be that of Libra as well as Taurus. So you're going to see some very, very strong similarities between the Libra energy and the 6 energy, which makes it very complementary to work with. But it can also, of course, make it very, very challenging as well. And so we'll look at that. So some of the positive traits of the 6 energy. Oh, also I want to mention 6 energy is considered earth energy. So we have the air energy of the Libra and the earth energy of the 6. So positive traits of the 6, we have very responsible energy, the one who you would kind of go to if you need something and you know that they will follow through with whatever they say they're going to do. Very responsible energy, kind-hearted, compassionate, very charitable, balanced energy, creative, very empathetic, unselfish. They are sort of the leader of the household, but in a very nurturing way. They have great domestic skills. So again, they're going to be the ones that have the family with a lot of kids, or they're very they are able to balance everything with that in a very nurturing, loving way. Or if they don't have an immediate sort of family center, they will have the extended family, or their family will be like the community, and you'll see them out in the community doing their humanitarian efforts, but in some way they're going to channel that very nurturing energy, that caretaking energy that is at the core of the six. Now, when we look at the negative traits of the six, we see sort of this self-righteous energy, this meddling energy, where they're not channeling their nurturing energy in a healthy way, and so they start to become more invasive in the lives of their family. They start to meddle in the lives of their friends and family, where it's more, like I said, it's more of an invasive energy. They can sort of start to dominate those who are close to them, so friends, family, immediate family members, where they become sort of the dictator of the household. And again, this is their lower expression. They can take on the martyrdom, being like, the weight of the world is on my shoulders. Everybody expects everything of me. I'm responsible for everything. If I don't do it, then it won't get done, or it won't get done in the right way, or whatever the case may be. But it's kind of like they have this, like, I have to save the world energy about them, as opposed to seeing it as, empowering other people to save themselves, right? And to assist in that process. They can also be overly resentful when they're in their lower expression. And if they take a closer look at why they're resentful, it often leads back to the fact that they didn't set healthy boundaries for the situation, and they overextended themselves, or they overpromised something, and now they are resenting that person for quote unquote taking advantage of them. But in reality, that could have been alleviated by setting some healthy boundaries, knowing when to say no, understanding that they are not a cup that is just constantly, refilling itself, that they have to do that for themselves. And so just, again, setting those healthy boundaries so that they don't overcommit. But those are some of the lower expressions of the six. And so when we couple those lower expressions of Libra and the lower expressions of six, we start to see how they can start to really become like a very, almost like toxic environment, right? They can really work against each other, or really fuel one another in a very low vibrational way. So we have the moodiness, the dishonesty, the indecisiveness, the neediness, the egotisticalness, the selfishness of the Libra, also sort of accompanied by the lower expression of the six, which is like that dominating energy, that resentful energy, meddling, martyrdom, no boundaries. And it just becomes very, toxic is the word that keeps coming up, right? Because you just have this person who wants this control, wants to dominate the situation, wants to, sort of feel like they're the martyr, patting themselves on the back, being like, look what I did to help the situation, when in reality, they're just this line of destruction, right? And so again, it's that lower energy of Libra. Libra in its lower expression can be very difficult to work with, very challenging. Libra in its higher expression is one of the more beautiful energies to work with. It's a very peace-loving energy. They're the peacemakers. They're the ones that bring people together. In their lower expression, they're going to be very divisive. They're going to pull people apart. Six energy can be the same way. Higher expression, it's a beautiful, loving, nurturing, compassionate energy. Lower expression, it becomes very dominating, very like self-righteous, meddling, just that energy that honestly is very difficult to be around. Now, with that said, before I get into the higher expressions, I want to mention that the lower expressions are not a bad thing. They are not something that you are meant to eradicate from yourself. There's something that's going to be a part of you for the rest of your life. Those are the energies that you chose to work with in this lifetime. So you need to learn to work with them in a way that will benefit you and work with you, as opposed to working against you, right? So if you fall into your lower expressions, which you will throughout your lifetime, it's important just to be aware of it, to recognize it, to see, how is this affecting my experience? How is this affecting the people that I love? How is this affecting the greater community, especially as a 33 as well? How is this affecting your ability to step into your 33 energy if you're a master level 33? So again, it's kind of like, this isn't a bad part of you. This is a part of you. that you are meant to learn to work with, to be aware of, to recognize, to use that energy to elevate you into your higher expressions, which will feel much more comfortable, that will make you feel in purpose, that will people will be drawn to you as opposed to repelled by you or want to hide from you type thing. Like I said, lower energy, 6 and Libra together is just very challenging energy to work with. Those are very challenging people to be around, to be honest. But again, that's a lower expression. They have to move through that energy to figure that out, to see what that feels like, to see what repercussions come from that energy, so that they can learn to manage it, work with it, and then elevate themselves into their higher expression. And then you've got these dynamic people who are just so loving, nurturing, and diplomatic, and bring people together and accomplish things, right? So again, as we look at the higher expressions of Libra, we see those people who are, again, very intelligent and like to find solutions to problems, and they often do. And those solutions are going to be things that will assist the family, the greater community, the extended family, or, the world, depending on what you signed up for. And especially if you're 33 energy as well. So you couple that Libra energy with, say, 33 energy, and you have this, again, this person who's just embodies that energy of being able to move into a space and bring the peace and bring the see things through a more idyllic lens, but then also have the tools to be able to create that experience, right? That more idyllic situation. And so it's very, very beautiful energy to work with. Also, that Libra energy with the 6 energy, again, 6 energy is that charitable, kind-hearted, creative energy that is a very, very strong nurturer. So again, they would be the people who are very easy to get along to, where people are just drawn to you because of your big heart, but also of your giving nature, and also of your healthy boundaries, right? Like, people respect when people know their boundaries so that they're not over-promising something that they can't fulfill. And so if you have Libra and 6 energy, I would say that is a combination that sets you up to lead some kind of humanitarian effort, lead some kind of, charity or something like that in your community, or in the world, whatever the case may be, but something that's going to have a greater impact socially to a greater population, whether you're a 33 or straight up 6. That Libra energy is sort of encouraging you, and you're going to feel compelled to almost immerse yourself into a purpose, a situation where you are helping a greater community in some way. Like I said, it's possible that you would be Libra and just stay within your own sort of social circle and your family dynamic, and that's where you would express your gifts, and that's very possible, and there's nothing wrong with that. But with Libra energy, again, it's so focused on like the bigger, expansive integration of that energy, I guess, right? So it just has a further reach, it feels like. And so when you couple that with the 6 energy, which is so similar, it just feels like there's meant to be some kind of a further reach. Definitely that would be the case with 33 Libra energy. So keep that in mind. But it's just fueling that for you. It's like where the 6 energy is earth energy, and then you have that air energy. The earth energy is going to lay the roots. It's going to be grounded. That's where you're going to have like the more family or extended family situation, or your local community where you would have that impact. But then that air energy with all of that beautiful, collaborative energy and working together and bringing people together, that air energy is sort of allowing you to branch out. And that's why I say, I feel like if you've got a lot of Libra energy and 6 energy, or Libra 33 for sure, you're sort of meant to take those gifts, that nurturing spirit that is the core of you, to a more expansive, have more of a reach, I guess. Not for everybody, that's an overgeneralization, but I would just say, just from looking at it, the energies, that is very, very possible. So I hope that this was helpful in kind of showing you the higher and lower expressions, and just, what you could potentially be working with, and you can decide as you move through the energies how best to work with them. But this gives you an idea of what it is that you signed up to work with in this lifetime. So I hope this was helpful. Thank you so much for listening. Take care. Scorpio, if you are a Scorpio sun, moon, or rising sign, and you are also a life path 6 or a 33-6, then this reading is for you. 33s, I will be referring to you as 6s throughout the reading because that is your life path number. The 33 energy is an extension of that energy. If there's something that you need to know specifically for the 33 energy, then I will make sure that I include that as well. So let's look at the highest and the lowest expressions of Scorpio and the 6 energy so that we can get an idea of how these energies play well together and how they can kind of work against each other. So Scorpio is a water sign. When we see Scorpio in its highest expression, we have this very ambitious, determined, brave energy. Scorpios are very loyal, they're honest, they're protective, they are intuitive, psychic. They are also independent thinkers. They are not going to be easily influenced by outside forces. They are going to think for themselves and make decisions from those insights. Scorpios can be very assertive. They can be emotionally, have a lot of emotional depth, even if they don't show it. So Scorpios are known to sort of have a lot going on beneath the surface, but they're able to have sort of that poker face, so you would never know what's sort of churning below the surface. They're a deeply sensitive sign, and they're very passionate about what they love, what inspires them, what they're drawn to. Now, when we see Scorpio in its lower expression, we really have this energy of stubbornness, manipulation, intolerance, jealousy, resentfulness, aggression, vengefulness, possessiveness, lack of trust in others, lack in trust in self, lack of vulnerability, moodiness, and hypersensitivity, okay? So when we look at the 6 energy is more associated with like Taurus or Libra energy. It's an earth energy. It's also very introverted. I would say Scorpio feels like it would have a little bit of like both, like being introverted as well as extroverted as well. But 6 energy is much more introverted. Now, if you're 33, then your energy is going to be sort of a mixed bag. You're going to have that more introverted energy of the 6, but you're also going to have the more extroverted energy of the 33, because you're meant to be, your work, your experience is meant to take you into the public sphere in some way. So it's more of an extroverted energy. Now, the 6 energy, when we look at the positive traits, we see this energy of like the humanitarian, a very responsible energy, kind-hearted, compassionate, very charitable. They're usually involved in their community in some way, in helping their community in some way, right? Like I could see like a 6 being involved in like a food shelter or the Red Cross in some way, or something like, or creating their own charity or humanitarian effort. 6s are very balanced in their energy. They're creative. They are empathetic. They're unselfish. They are usually the ones who lead by example within the family when they're in their higher expression. They're the ones that the family sort of looks up to, the ones that they can count on, and the ones who will nurture and care for those that need them to. At their core, 6s are the nurturers. They are the caretakers. Okay, now when we look at the lower expression of 6, we see this energy of like self-righteousness, being very outspoken, meddling into other people's business. And usually when that happens, when they start to meddle, it's because they're not channeling or funneling their more nurturing, caretaking energy into something healthy. They're starting to meddle or become invasive in their energy. They become a martyr, where they start to look at like the world needs them to save them, right? The people in their lives need them to step in and save them from their own life. And that's a very disempowering attitude and energy to work with. So where the 6 energy would be much more empowering, you're assisting those people in seeing their worth and empowering them to stand on their own 2 feet. In their lower expression, 6 is going to try to do everything for that person, to where the point they almost become like this dominating energy. They try to dominate family members or their circle, their friends, whatever the case may be, and it becomes a very challenging energy to work with. 6s can become very resentful in their lower expression. And a lot of times when they become resentful, it's because rather than something that someone else actually did, it's because they see the experience as people are taking advantage of me, when in reality, it really typically can come down to the 6 not having set appropriate boundaries, right? Not setting healthy boundaries, not saying no when they don't have the capability or the bandwidth to be able to show up in the way that they're promising they will show up. And then wondering why the people they promised they would show up to are coming for the assistance. And so again, it's like when they're in their lower expression, 6s have a really hard time setting those healthy boundaries and knowing their own limitations, right? They're not these superheroes. They are meant to, they're very nurturing and very, have big hearts. And that can be easily taken advantage of. But that to assume that you have no control over who takes advantage of you is disempowering to yourself. So again, that's where you have to start to set those healthy boundaries. Say no, don't overcommit yourself. Understand what your limits are. And so when you're in those lower traits, you start to see where it's like those the lack of boundaries start to really deplete you. Now, when we look at the negative traits of Scorpio with the negative traits of the 6, we can see how this can get toxic really, really quickly. We have that Scorpio energy that is, Scorpio energy Scorpio is ruled by Pluto, which is all about death, rebirth, transformation. So, there's a lot of intense energy swirling about. There's a lot of, things can go wrong really quickly with that energy. You have to be able to really be adaptable and work with it. And so Scorpio being that intensity coupled with that 6, which is much more laid back, much more nurturing, whatnot, Scorpio is going to be the one, this is in their higher expression. They're going to be the ones who are going to be very protective and loyal and determined and ambitious. There's an intensity to that. With 6, it's much more calm and nurturing and softer energy. And so it's interesting. We'll get to the higher expressions, but just kind of keep that in mind. So that can be a little bit of a push-pull, a little bit of a dynamic to work with in the higher expression. In the lower expression, it just gets incredibly intense. You have that lower expression of Scorpio, again, which is manipulative, intolerant, jealous, resentful, aggressive, vengeful, possessive, lacking trust, moody and hypersensitive. And you couple that with the lower expressions of the 6, which is the meddler, the self-righteous energy, the over-resentful energy, the one who dominates the family environment, no boundaries, the martyrdom. And it can, like I said, it can become toxic really, really quickly, where you become you can have a situation where it becomes very isolated and very toxic, and a situation of hierarchy or control that's wounded masculine energy, basically. Is what it comes down to. And it's and again, it's nothing to do with gender, it's an energy. But so the lower expression, if the way that you're showing up to relationships is in a very divisive way or a very controlling way, obviously that's going to have an effect on your relationships, but that's going to feel really uncomfortable for you as a 6, because again, you are by your nature that nurturer and that caretaker. And so if you're the person who feels like you have to control the family dynamic, has to control what everybody in your household thinks or does, or what they want to be, or whatever the case may be, it may be that you're in that lower expression of both Scorpio and the 6. And it's going to be, out of all the signs, I think it's going to be most intense with Scorpio energy, because again, it's that very aggressive, just completely intolerant energy. And when you couple that with the 6 and you start dominating things or meddling or becoming that martyr or self-righteous, that just takes you so far away from stepping into your 6 energy, and especially your 33 energy. It becomes almost like this, where it fuels your negative traits of the 6, but it also becomes a push-pull from within you, because you're going to be compelled to step into those higher octaves of the 6. And it's going to be probably confusing for you about why your relationships are so challenging, why your experiences are so challenging and aggressive, or whatever the case may be. Because remember, our relationships sort of mirror back to us, the vibration that we're in. So with that being said about the lower expressions, I will say there's nothing wrong with them, right? They're a part of you. You're meant to experience them. You're meant to move through them. you're meant to learn to manage them in a way that you learn from those experiences, right? Like, what are those challenges trying to show you? What are those lower expressions trying to show you? Because those lower expressions are a part of you. You're capable of falling into them quite deeply, but you're also capable of moving beyond them into a higher octave. And when you're in those lower expressions, it's going to feel incredibly uncomfortable. It's going to feel very, just like you're not in purpose, like you're not, whole, like there's something missing, like it's just going to feel very uncomfortable. And chances are, because you have that lower scorpionic energy with that lower 6 energy, the relationships and the experiences that you attract to you because you're in that lower expression are going to feel very toxic, are going to feel very aggressive, manipulative, dominating, that sort of thing. So, that can be challenging as well. But it's meant to show you something. It's meant to teach you something. You're meant to learn something from it. So that's when you ask yourself, what am I meant to learn from this? What is it meant to show me? Because it's like, once you can gather that wisdom, you can move up into a higher octave. So again, those lower traits are not bad, and you are going to dip in and out of them throughout your lifetime. But again, what are they trying to show you while you're in them? Now, when we go into the higher expressions, we can see again how it's like they work really, really well together. And we talked about that. It's like, that ambitious energy working to get the 6 into, a humanitarian effort, the protective energy to protect what, their family, the extended family, the creative energy coupled with the higher octave of Scorpio, which is that again, intuitive psychic energy, the independent thinker, the assertive as well. Sometimes 6s have a hard time asserting themselves and setting those healthy boundaries. And so Scorpio energy will assist you in doing that. It will assist you in stepping into that so that you can channel your nurturing and caretaking energy in a very healthy way, right? When you're in those higher octaves of Scorpio in the 6. So when you're in the higher octaves, that water energy really assists it brings life to that 6 energy, right? It gives you the motivation. It kind of gives you the oomph to step into those traits that maybe you have a harder time stepping into, such as setting boundaries while you're being the nurturer, right? To not allow yourself to feel taken advantage of, because you are protecting yourself and your energy while also, showing up and channeling that energy in a way that feels good for you. So again, the Scorpio energy in the higher octave, I can definitely see how that would be a very assisting energy to the 6, where it would give it that, like I said, the oomph that it needs to be able to share its work, share its those higher traits in a way that is very ambitious, right? And where people feel a level of confidence coming through that 6 energy. So again, if it comes back down to boundaries, you're going to be confident enough in setting those boundaries because of that Scorpio energy, as well as adhering to those boundaries. And then people are going to respect that about you as well. And they also will respect those boundaries. So I just see Scorpio as kind of like the big brother coming in and assisting the sort of younger sister in the situation, and helping that 6 energy to be all that it can be. And while also protecting itself, right? And recognizing its own boundaries. When we look at the 33 energy with the Scorpio energy, the higher expression, I definitely see, with that ambitious, determined, sort of brave energy of the Scorpio, I see that assisting the 33 and really stepping into its more extroverted energy to be able to share those gifts with the world. So again, if you say you became, like Meryl Streep is a actor who she's a 33 and she's an actor, and you can just tell from her demeanor, from her presence, from her smile, she exudes that nurturing, loving, beautifying energy. And she could benefit from, like, or someone like her, a 33 who's going into something of that kind of public arena, could benefit from some kind of scorpionic energy to assist them and give them that push to pursue those dreams, right? To pursue acting or whatever, where there's a lot of, you need to be adaptable. There's a lot of, death and rebirth and those kind of things, because there's a lot of getting told no, right? So again, you can just see how Scorpio is just kind of like assisting the sixth energy in being all that it can be. So it's really, really beautiful until we fall into those lower traits. But again, those are meant to show us something. So I hope this was helpful in showing you those higher and lower octaves, and sort of, you can figure out as you move through those energies how to best work with them. But again, Scorpio and sixth energy when they're in balance, are very beautiful energies to work with. Actually, they assist each other very, very well. They balance each other out very, very well. And it becomes sort of a force to be reckoned with, especially with that 33 energy as well. So I hope that was helpful. Thank you so much for listening. Take care. Sagittarius, if you are a Sagittarius sun, moon, or rising, and you are also a life path 6 or a 33-6, then this reading is for you. 33s, I will be referring to you as 6s throughout the reading because 6 is your life path number. The 33 energy is an extension of that energy. If there is something that pertains specifically to the 33 energy, then I will make note of that as we move through the reading. So let's look at the higher and the lower expressions of both Sag and 6 energy so that we can get an understanding of how these energies work well together and how they can work against each other so that you know what you're working with. So Sagittarius energy is a fire element. When we look at the higher expressions of Sag, we see these freedom lovers who are optimistic, honest, intelligent. They have a great sense of humor. They're fair-minded. They're super spontaneous and fun. They're adaptable to change. They're enthusiastic, and they're generous and, again, playful. So it's this very like childlike energy who's also very intelligent, right? It's like they are the adults who haven't lost their childlike essence, which is just fun, beautiful, strong energy to work with. It's a fire energy. So it's going to get the job done, but in a very fun and spontaneous way. So it's beautiful, beautiful energy. When we look at the lower expression of Sag, we see impatience, this sort of bluntness without caring about how the information lands on the other person, which can sometimes be a good thing if you want complete honesty, but it can also be a little bit challenging when you need to sort of read the room to sort of, again, mold whatever you say in a way, to sort of filter what you say in a way so that it lands in a way that doesn't get other people defensive, right? Because then you're not really getting anywhere. So when they're in their lower expression, they just lack that filter. When they're in their higher expression, Sagittarius are great communicators. They're great at working with people. People love working with them. Lower expression, again, we see a lot of stress and anxiety. We see this sort of inconsistent or emotionally distant and reckless behavior energy. And so it becomes a little bit more, again, challenging to work with. Sagittarius in its lower expression gets bored very easily. Like they'll start something and then they'll give up on it because they didn't see the results quick enough type thing. So again, they sort of promise things that they can't deliver on. And then that, again, creates more stress than's needed for all involved. Now, when we look at the 6 energy, we see this more introverted energy for the 6s. For the 33s, that's going to be a more extroverted energy because 33s are meant to share their work with a greater audience, right? They're meant to share it with the greater community or with the world or something like that. And that's just part of that master energy. So you may feel a little bit of push-pull between your 33 and your 6 energies if you're a 33. The 6s are more introverted. They are an earth sign, and they are mostly associated with, in the astrological connection is mostly associated with Taurus and Libra energies. When we look at the higher expressions of the 6, we see the humanitarian, we see responsible energy, kind-hearted and compassionate, very charitable. They are balanced in their nature. They're very creative. They are empathetic. They are unselfish. They are great sort of role models in the family dynamic, like people would within the extended family or the core family would come to them for nurturing, caretaking, for advice, for whatever the case may be. They're sort of seen as the rock of the family. At their core, sixes are the nurturers. They are the caregivers. That's just part of their essence, and that's not something they can easily turn off. If they do, they're going to feel very, very uncomfortable. In their negative traits, we see this energy of like self-righteousness, meddling. They tend to not be able to channel that nurturing and compassionate energy in a healthy way. And so it starts to take on the role of like meddling. They start to involve themselves into other people's lives and affairs and offering advice and that sort of thing where it wasn't welcomed. It's very unsolicited, which can create issues. They take on like a martyrdom type energy where they feel like they have to save the world. That if, they have to do the things for the people because the people can't do them for themselves, which of course is very disempowering for all involved. And they just take on that martyrdom energy. A 6 in its higher expression is going to assist that person in doing whatever it is themselves so that they have the tools to be able to do it, and it's a much more empowering energy. 6 in its lower expression, you'll also see they become very dominating, especially within their home environment or their extended family. They want to dominate the situation. They want to control the situation. They want to do it for the person, right? Going back to that martyrdom. But it becomes almost, again, controlling and dominating. Another aspect of the negative trait of the 6 is that they become overly resentful. They feel like people are taking advantage of them. And what they fail to see often is that the reason why they feel like they're being taken advantage of is because they have failed to set appropriate, healthy boundaries. They've failed to say no, or recognize their limitations, or overextended themselves. And so you start to see this energy that they start to feel resentful of the situation and feel like they are showing up and doing these kind acts out of the goodness of their heart, and they're not appreciated. And that may be the case, but ultimately it's going to come down to they need to set more healthy boundaries. They need to set boundaries, right? Now, when we look at the lower expressions of Sag coupled with the lower expressions of the 6, we can see how like that, again, becoming over resentful, not setting boundaries, where they overextend themselves and they promise things that they can't deliver on. That coupled with the Sag energy that's very similar of, again, becoming bored easily and then, promising things they can't possibly meet the deadline for or show up for, whatever. You begin to lose the trust of the people around you, of the ones who you're meant to be that rock for, you know what I mean? Like who you want to be the caretaker and the nurturing energy for, but you are unable to deliver on what it is that you promised because you haven't set those boundaries. And again, couple that Sag energy with the 6 energy, and it just becomes even magnified more. And so you just get like this big bundle of someone who is unable to deliver on what they've promised. And so that breaks trust in a lot of ways. We also see a lot of, with Sag energy in lower expression, you can become emotionally distant. Now, 6 energy is very emotionally balanced. They are the ones, again, who you feel comfortable going and talking to, who, have balanced their own energy, so they're able to show up in a way that's very calming and nurturing. If you're in your lower Sag expression and you are emotionally distant, then you are not able to show up in the highest expression of the 6. It's not possible. It's polar opposites, right? It's a polarization. And so you become very impatient, very blunt, very, all those like lower expressions of the Sag coupled with the lower expressions of like self-righteousness, domination, meddling, martyrdom, and it just becomes like this very restrictive energy or this very chaotic energy where people just can't really get on board with it. And that will affect your relationships. It will affect your experiences. You will start to see challenges surface that are showing you what lower expression you are in so that you can work to move out of it. Now, I will say that the lower expressions, the negative traits, are not bad things. They are part of you. They are meant to be a part of you. They will be a part of you throughout your lifetime. You will dip in and out of them. But where you start to get more, a little bit better at doing the work is you'll start to become aware of when you are in those lower expressions, and you'll start to become aware of how you feel when you're in those lower expressions and how it affects your experience. And then you can take a closer look at the challenges that are surfacing for you to ask yourself, okay, this challenge is coming up. What is it trying to show me? And more than likely it's trying to show you the lower expression that you are in. And then you can work to find the tools to move beyond that lower expression, to transmute it, and to move into a higher octave. So again, they're not bad. They're meant to be experienced and worked through, and so that you can acquire the wisdom that they're trying to give you through those experiences. Now, when we look at the higher expressions of Sag and 6 and 33, we just see beautiful, beautiful, beautiful energy. We have this very childlike, again, inner child energy of Sagittarius that's very spontaneous and fun and, just optimistic, and they love their freedom. They have a great sense of humor. They're very adaptable, enthusiastic, and generous. That just complements 6 energy so incredibly beautiful. If you're like a parent or like a caretaker and you have Sag energy and 6 energy, you are the person that I want caring for me. You know what I mean? Like just this fun, loving, spontaneous, nurturing, good-hearted individual, right? Like those are the people who are going to come up with some of the most creative, expansive, humanitarian efforts that they can share with the world, right? Like just things that can really have a huge impact on the greater community, on the family, the extended family, on the world at large, depending on what you signed up for in this lifetime. But that fire energy of the Sag, coupled with, their intelligence, their adaptability, their generosity, their honesty, their intelligence, and again, that optimism just creates this environment for the 6 to be creative, to, create some kind of situation where it's going to benefit others in a big, fun, expansive way. So it's just such beautiful, beautiful energy. And then again, same thing with that Sag and 33 energy. I would love to see what a Sagittarius 33 creates in this lifetime when they're in their highest expression, because you can't be really in 33 energy fully unless you're in your highest expression. But I would love to see what they create, because it's just that Sag energy is just such awesome energy to work with. And then you couple that with a 33 that is meant to be on a sort of a global stage, or within their community or something like that. And yeah, it would be amazing to see what they put forth into the world, because that is some elevated energy, some fun, elevated energy. And same thing with Sag and 6s. Like that's just, that would be those would be the fun parents to have, but the ones who are also, can set boundaries as well, and, are like level-headed, but also like, because they're fair-minded, but they're also spontaneous and fun and generous and playful, and yeah, it's just beautiful complementary energy. I love Sagittarius and 6 energy. It's just beautiful. Gets a little chaotic in the lower expressions, a little challenging, but that's like with any sign. So yeah, if you signed up for Sag energy and 6 or 33 energy in this lifetime, you have some beautiful energy to work with. You really do, especially when you can move beyond and work above and land in those higher octaves of those energies. It's just a lot of fun, beautiful, nurturing energy to work with. So I hope this was helpful. Thank you so much for listening. Take care. Capricorns, if you are a Capricorn sun, moon, or rising, and you are also a life path number 6 or a life path number 33-6, then this reading is for you. 33s, I'm going to be referring to you as 6s throughout this reading. 6 is your life path number. 33 is an extension of that energy. So if there's something that pertains specifically to the 33, then I will, of course, include that. So let's look at the higher and the lower expressions of both Capricorn and 6 so that you can see sort of how these energies play together, how they work well together, and how they can work against each other. So Capricorn is an earth energy. When we look at the higher expressions of Capricorn, we see a very ambitious, persistent, practical, disciplined, highly sensitive, and responsible energy. Capricorns are very, again, self-disciplined, patient, organized, wise, reliable, creative, and loyal. When we look at the lower expressions of Capricorn, we see the cynical energy, we see selfishness, unforgiving nature, perfectionist, egotistical, loner, overly cautious, pessimistic, and rarely satisfied. Like nothing they do is good enough, nothing anybody else does is good enough, and they just continue to beat themselves up. When we look at the sixth energy is also an earth energy. So we have a lot of earth energy at play here. Sixth energy, the astrological connection is aligned more with like Taurus or Libra energy. Libra, of course, is an air sign, but with Taurus, we get that earth element. But just as the traits, you'll see the correlation. Sixth energy is more of an introverted energy. Now, if you're 33, you're going to feel the pull of the extroverted energy because master numbers are meant to be, not necessarily in the spotlight, but they're meant to be experienced by a greater population than just your immediate friends and family, right? And so you're going to feel that extroverted pull if you're a 33, and you may feel that push-pull between the 6 and the 33. So just keep that in mind. But 6 energy at its core is pretty much more of an introverted energy. When we look at the positive traits of the 6, we see this very humanitarian energy, very responsible, kind-hearted and compassionate, very charitable, balanced, creative, empathetic, unselfish, sort of like the pillar of the family environment. It's the person that people come to for nurturing, caretaking, assistance. They're the person that they feel like you're the person they feel like they can rely on within the family. At their core, 6s are the nurturers. They are the caretakers and the nurturers. So keep that in mind as we move through the reading, because that's something that when you fall into those lower expressions can really be challenging. Now, the negative traits of the 6, we start to see sort of this pompous attitude, self-righteousness, overly resentful, outspoken. They start to meddle into other people's affairs because they're not channeling that nurturing, caretaking energy in a healthy way. And so it starts to come through as meddling. They start to want to control the situation. They start to dominate their family and friends, want to dominate how they think, what they do, all of those things. It becomes a little bit more toxic. There is a sense of martyrdom in the lower expression of 6 where they feel like they have to fix the world, heal the world. They have to do it for the person because the person is not capable of doing it for themselves. And that becomes very disempowering. 6 in its highest expression will work with that person to empower them so that they have the tools that they need to be able to do whatever it is on their own in the future, but they're there to help, to assist. One of the big things with 6s is that they have it in their lower expression. They have a very challenging time setting boundaries. And so because of that, that leads to that becoming very overly resentful of people. They feel they're being taken advantage of, but in reality, had they set some healthy boundaries to begin with and not overextended themselves, known their limitations, then there wouldn't have been the environment available for that person to take advantage of the 6. And so setting healthy boundaries is going to be a big life lesson throughout the journey for 6s. And you can tell when you are in that negative trait because, again, you start to become sort of resentful of people taking advantage of you. But you need to take a closer look at the situation and see, is this something I could have prevented by setting a healthy boundary, by saying no, by not feeling like I have to be everything to everyone, and knowing my own limitations, right? So when we look at the lower aspects of the 6 and the Capricorn energy, it just becomes this very heavy, dense earth energy. Because remember, we've got the earth energy, the Capricorn, and the earth energy of the 6. And when it's in that lower expression, it just becomes very heavy, heavy energy, and it's a lot to carry. Again, lower expressions of Capricorn, we see that more like selfish, unforgiving, sort of egotistical, overly cautious, pessimistic energy. And then we have the 6 energy that's like dominating, outspoken, meddling, martyrdom, self-righteousness, and resentful. And so again, it just becomes like this really like self-absorbed, overly dense energy to work with. And it just really just kind of halts you in your progress. And it will, of course, affect those relationships that sixes are meant to have within their lifetime, because again, being that nurturing, caregiving energy who is meant to be like, humanitarian and charitable, you start to become more self-absorbed, more overly cautious in your actions, that sort of thing. And it just halts your progress. It just completely it's like having your feet, stepping in cement and that cement like solidifying. It's just hard to have any kind of forward progression. So it just becomes very, very heavy, dense energy. So that can definitely hold you back. Now, with that being said, there's nothing wrong with the lower expressions of ourselves. They're a part of who we are. We're meant to experience them, and we're going to experience them all throughout our lives. The big key is to recognize when you're in a lower expression, become aware of it, recognize what they are, recognize how you feel when you are in them, how it affects your experience and the people around you, and how it hinders you. And then take a closer look at the challenges that surface for you when you're in those lower expressions to see, what is this trying to show me? Because whatever it's trying to show you is going to lead to the wisdom that is going to lead to elevating yourself into a higher octave. And so again, those lower expressions are not bad. We're meant to work with them throughout our lifetime. They're a part of who we are. They're just not meant to overtake us, right? Now, when we look at the higher expressions of Capricorn and the sixth energy, again, very complementary energy. It's both earth energy, it's very grounded energy, it's very nurturing energy, very sensitive, persistent, disciplined. I would say if you came to this plane with Capricorn energy and sixth energy, especially 33 energy, you are meant to really take those compassionate, nurturing skills and create something or build something like a legacy or something like that within the greater community, within your family, something like that, that is more humanitarian, more charitable, something that's going to assist people, something that's going to beautify the surroundings, something that's going to bring light and love into a situation. And the Capricorn is going to give you the staying power. It's going to give you that ambition, that persistence, that sort of practical viewpoint so that you can stay focused and make sure that whatever it is that you're creating is, you're bringing those nurturing, compassionate skills to, but the Capricorn energy is going to push you to build it, to create it. Not saying that's going to be the case with everyone who has Capricorn, but I would say if you have a Capricorn sun especially, and you're a 6 life path or a 33, you're meant to really build something, create something in this lifetime that's going to help other people, that's going to assist other people in a bigger way than just your immediate family unit. Not everybody, but that's Capricorn energy is just so driven and responsible and disciplined and all that stuff. It's usually it's usually setting you up to create something, to build something, to make sure that you've got a foundation that lasts like the test of time type thing. And the Capricorn energy is going to give you that strength and that resiliency to keep moving, even in the face of adversity. So that coupled with 6, again, I could see you really building something of a charitable, foundation, something that's humanitarian. However it shows up, but it's a beautiful kind of coming together of these earthy energies. One's very very soft, and then the Capricorn energy, which is also soft, but you have that very driven energy. So there's something that Capricorn energy is pushing you to do or pushing you to build. For some of you might be a 6 or a 33, and it might be pushing you to become an entrepreneur or something like that, right? Where you're using your skills in a way where you're working for yourself, and there can be a lot of twists and turns and things to overcome when you're an entrepreneur, but that Capricorn energy is going to assist you in doing that so that you can do that successfully. So again, I hope that this was kind of helpful in showing you the higher and the lower expressions of the energies, and so you can recognize them when you're in them. When you are in your higher expression of Capricorn and 6 or 33 energy, it's going to feel really, really good. It's going to feel like you are in purpose. It's going to feel like everything's coming together and the universe is conspiring to make it all work. There's of course going to be challenges because this is life, but it's going to feel much more aligned. You're going to feel like, yeah, this is what I came here for. When you're in those lower expressions, you're going to feel like you stepped in quicksand and there's no getting out of it. But there is getting out of it. You just need to figure out the way to, where's the ladder? Where's your tools? Where's your resources? And you'll find your way out of it. And you can use that wisdom to assist you to, like I said, elevate you higher. So I hope this was helpful in your journey forward. Thank you so much for listening. Take care. Aquarius, if you are Aquarius Sun, Moon, or Rising, and you are also a life path number 6 or 33-6, then this reading is for you. 33s, I will be referring to you as 6 throughout the reading. Ultimately, 6 is your life path number. The 33 energy is an extension of that energy, and so if there is something that pertains specifically to 33 energy, I will make sure that I make you aware of it. Okay. So we're going to take a closer look at the higher and the lower expressions of Aquarius, as well as the 6 energies, so that you can see how they work well together, how they play together, how they can also be a little bit challenging. So Aquarius is an air sign. When we look at the higher expressions of Aquarius, we see someone who's very adaptable to change. They can be more esoteric, they are smart, they are creative, they're friendly, independent, free-spirited, and unconventional in their thinking. They can be honest, devoted, very positive outlook, optimistic, very passionate, reliable. They can be mysterious, and they're often the freedom seekers of the zodiac signs. The lower expression of Aquarius, we see a short attention span, lack of focus, lack of empathy, unpredictable, stubborn. They can be the extremist, falling into one polarity or another. We see pessimism, aloofness, overly rebellious, and impatient. Now, when we look at the 6 energy, we see that they are an earth energy. So we have the air energy of Aquarius and the earth energy of the 6. The astrological connection for 6 is generally associated with Taurus or Libra energy. 6 energy is more introverted in nature, and so whereas I would say Aquarius is probably a bit more extroverted. So 6s are going to feel that sort of more introverted pull. Now, unless you're a 33, if you're a 33 energy is a bit more extroverted. So you will feel that push-pull energy between your own numbers, right? Your 33 and your 6 energy. But 33 energy is meant to be seen, be experienced by a greater population. And so you're going to feel that pull of the 33 energy sort of bringing you out of your shell. Anyway, as we look at the positive traits of the 6, we see that this is a very nurturing energy. 6s are at their core the nurturers. They are the caregivers. They're unselfish, they're very balanced, they're creative, they're empathetic, kind-hearted, compassionate. They're very charitable. They can be humanitarians. They are very responsible in their efforts. They're also the ones usually in the family who people are very drawn to, who they feel like they can rely on, they come to for assistance, for coaching, for counseling. Again, just that nurturing and compassionate energy that this 6 just exudes. And so when we look at the negative traits of the 6, we see this like self-righteous, outspoken, more martyrdom energy coming through. That martyrdom is that energy of like the 6 believing that they have to fix or heal the world, right? That they have to do whatever it is for that person because that person is not capable of doing it for themselves. And so it's kind of like wounded caretaking energy, right? And so when they're in their higher expression, they recognize that they are to empower people, to help people to be able to do it for themselves, right? That nurturing and caretaking energy is to assist others and to empower them. Whereas that lower expression, that martyrdom, is really disempowering for all involved. At their lower expression, again, we see sort of this like overly resentful energy where the 6 is feeling like people are taking advantage of them, when in reality, it usually comes down to the fact that the 6 has not set appropriate or healthy boundaries. They don't know their limits. They are believing that they have to be everything for everyone, and they are depleting themselves. And so by not setting those healthy boundaries, they become resentful of the people they're showing up for, assuming that those people are taking advantage of them. However, had they created the environment where that wouldn't be an option, right? Where you set healthy boundaries, you are making it very clear what you're capable of, what you're willing to do, and people are going to have to respect that. And if they don't get the service, right? And so that over resentful energy really comes down to the 6 not being able to set healthy boundaries for themselves. 6s can also, when they're in their lower expression, be more meddling. They don't channel their nurturing energy in a healthy way, and instead it comes through as like, again, meddling in other people's business, starting to sort of dominate and tell people what they should do, how they should do it. Feeling like they know best what's for that person, as opposed to allowing that person to have their own autonomy. And it just becomes a little bit more invasive. And so again, it's just about channeling that nurturing, caring energy into something much more healthy, as opposed to forcing it upon people, right? Through meddling or domination. So when we look at the lower expressions of Aquarius and 6 combined, we see again that short attention span of Aquarius, the lack of focus, the lack of empathy. That's a big one, because 6 energy is so empathic. They are, again, the nurturing caretakers of the numerology, right? It's like they're the ones that just exude that. That's a part of their essence. So if you are Aquarius lower expression and you're lacking empathy, that is just going to completely be sort of this inner tug of war, inner push and pull with that 6 energy. And it would pull them into their lower expression of your 6 energy as well. The unpredictable, stubborn, sort of extremist energy of the lower expression of Aquarius also fuels that sort of meddling, resentful, self-righteous energy of the lower 6. So again, you just kind of get like this very flighty, chaotic, aggressive energy that's very pessimistic, whereas the 6 energy in its higher expression tends to be more optimistic. They can be more like realistic in the way that they view things, but they tend to sway more towards optimism. Because again, they want to believe that they can get to a situation that's better for the people, for themselves, for their situation, for the greater good. That's just part of that, again, that sort of empathic nature. And so when we have that lower expression of Aquarius that, again, is just more aloof, overly rebellious, pessimistic, impatient, it just plays into those lower aspects of the 6 and compounds it. And so again, it just makes it a situation where it's like you start fighting against yourself in a sense, right? And it just becomes very challenging. Now, when we look at the higher expressions of Aquarius and the 6, they actually are very beautiful complementary energy. The Aquarian energy is very, again, unconventional. They are creative. That couples so nicely with the 6 energy, which is also very creative and very balanced. And the fact that the Aquarian energy is so unconventional and often is looking to create something that will assist the greater good, that's very Aquarian energy, like community and looking to assist the community in some way. That plays into that 6 energy of like that charitable, humanitarian, nurturing energy that's also very creative. So again, that's just beautiful complementary energy to come together, especially especially for 33s, because it's definitely prompting you or encouraging you to create something for the masses. And even if it's just you, right? Even if it's just like you showing up and bringing the love, bringing the vibrance, bringing the positive energy or optimistic energy to the room, right? Like that is having an effect on other people's vibration, just knocking off on other people's vibration, right? And so the Aquarian energy really assists you to be able to be yourself, to show up authentically, to show up, even when the rest of the world is being pessimistic and under a dark cloud, you can show up in light, you can show up in love, you can show up with, that optimism, as well as the creativity to be able to create in the physical plane, that optimism, right? A more idyllic situation. So the Aquarian energy just works so beautifully with 6 in kind of opening the mind, opening the expansiveness of what it's capable of. And again, just feeding into that more unconventional nature, so that if you were a 6 and you wanted to volunteer or create a humanitarian effort, you could do so in an unconventional way that hasn't been done before, that will assist other people, right? The greater community, which again feeds into that higher elevation of Aquarius. So in the higher expression, that air energy of Aquarius and that earth energy of the 6 is really complementary. You have the groundedness of the 6, the very physical aspects of the 6, the nurturing energy of the 6. And then you have that air energy of Aquarius, which just opens the mind. It just opens the expanses of what's possible. It's unconventional. It allows you as a 6 or a 33 to spread your wings, right? If you're a tree, it allows you to set your roots, but then also spread your limbs, right? Like the branches of your tree. So it's very complementary, beautiful energy. It's only when we fall into those lower expressions that things get very chaotic and stuck and a little bit difficult to work with. With that being said, I say this in every reading, the lower expressions are a part of who you are. They will continue to be a part of who you are. You are not meant to get rid of them. You're simply meant to be aware of them, learn to work with them, and to be able to recognize whatever challenges that surface when you're in those lower expressions, to figure out what it's trying to show you. Because whatever it's trying to show you, there's wisdom there that you can pull from to assist you, to help you move into those higher elevations. And once you're in those higher elevations, then you just have these beautiful, beautiful complementary energies and kind of fun energies. Like I like Aquarius because again, it's so unconventional. Like you might have like an unconventional home life. You might have an unconventional relationship or something like that. But it works so beautifully because you have that beautiful nurturing energy of the 6, and then you also have that unconventionality of the Aquarian energy. And so it just works really, really beautiful. It's meant to be that way. Like, again, your soul signed up specifically for these Aquarius energies and these 6 energies for a reason, or the 33 energies for a reason. And so you're just meant to, it's almost like a scavenger hunt to figure out like, what energy am I in? What is it here to show me? What can I do with this energy? How can I work with it? What are these traits and how are they presenting themselves to me at this time? And how am I showing up to them? And so it just you can kind of make it kind of fun, a little less challenging when you're in those lower expressions. But yeah, so hopefully this was helpful in just kind of highlighting for you the higher and the lower expressions and maybe how you can work with them a little bit more beneficially for you. So thank you so much for listening. Take care, everyone. Bye for now. Pisces, if you are a Pisces sun, moon, or rising, and you're also a life path number 6 or life path 33-6, then this reading is for you. 33s, I'm going to refer to you mostly as 6s throughout this reading because that is your life path number. The 33 energy is an extension of the 6. If there's something that pertains specifically to the 33 energy, then I will make sure that you are aware of it. So we're going to look at the higher and the lower expressions of Pisces and of the 6 energy so that you can see how well they play together, how they kind of work against each other, and some of the challenges they might bring up for you. So Pisces is a water sign. When Pisces is in its highest expression, we see this energy of being highly adaptable, being the visionary, kind and gentle, highly intuitive and psychic, very creative, empathetic, generous, emotionally mature, laid back, and agreeable. And you're going to see when we get into the six energies how this Piscean energy just works so incredibly beautifully with the sixth energy. But first, let's look at the lower expression of Pisces. So in the lower expression, we see overly emotional, hypersensitivity, overly trusting and easily swayed or influenced, closed off emotionally, victim mentality, and very moody, okay? So in the lower expressions, we're going to see how these energies can really get that six stuck in its momentum. So looking at the sixth energy, we have an earth element. Six is considered earth energy. When we look at the astrological connection, it's more aligned sort of with Taurus or Libra energy. Sixth energy is more introverted. Now sixth energy is introverted. The 33 energy is going to be more extroverted because as a master level energy, you are meant to share your gifts, or they're meant to be experienced by a greater population, right? So you're going to feel that sort of push-pull between the introvertedness of the 6 and the extrovertedness of the 33 within you. So, but in its core, 6 energy is much more introverted. It's more likes to be at home. It likes to be stable, secure, surrounded by loved ones, that sort of thing. When we look at the positive traits of 6, we see a very charitable energy, a very balanced energy, very creative, sympathetic, unselfish. They become the ones who family, friends will be drawn to assist them. They see this person as sort of like the rock, the one who they can count on. 6 at its core is the nurturer. They are the ones who are the caretakers. They're going to make sure that everything is taken care of, everything is running smoothly, that you have what you need and you feel supported, right? That's just the energy that they exude. It's part of their core. So when we look at the lower expressions of the 6 energy, we start to see where it's very sort of the polarization of that. We see the self-righteousness, meddling energy, where they start to channel that nurturing energy into something a little bit more toxic, where they are starting to force themselves on other people, right? Like they start to meddle in other people's business, assuming that they know what is best for that person. They become the martyr. They become the ones who say, like, I need to save the world. I need to do it for this person because they are not capable of doing it for themselves. And it becomes very disempowering for everyone involved. 6 energy in its higher expression is much more empowering and empowered. It's going to assist you and support you in finding the resources that you need to be able to do the work yourself so that you know how to do it in the future, right? So it's much more of an empowerment kind of energy. But in the lower expression, we see this sort of like over resentful energy. And the resentfulness comes from the 6 feeling like they have been taken advantage of. But if we look at it more closely, we see that the reason why they feel that way is because they did not set healthy boundaries to begin with. Because 6s in its lower expression has a hard time saying no. They have a hard time knowing their limitations. Again, not overcommitting themselves, not sacrificing themselves or their sanity or their mental health for the sake of another. Because it goes back to that whole saying of like, you have to fill your own cup up first. And so when you're in your lower expression, you're just giving, and then you become resentful for people taking. But yet it goes back to the point that you didn't set those healthy boundaries, so people are going to do what people are going to take advantage of whatever it is you're offering. So stop offering as much, right? So it just becomes a healthy balance. And when you're in the lower expression, there is no balance there. So also a couple of other energies of the 6 that we can see in the lower expression is they begin to sort of dominate their environment. They start to want to control the environment. They start to want to dominate their loved ones, their family, their friends, how they think, what they do, because they feel they know what's best. And it's just sort of that like toxic nurturing energy, because when they're in their higher expression, again, they're very supportive. They're nurturing in the sense that they're assisting you in finding your own 2 feet, right? Or spreading your own wings. They're not going to try to spread your wings for you and flap them for you and make you fly. And so when they're in that lower expression, it can just be a little bit overwhelming. So when we look at the lower expression of the 6 and Pisces, again, the word overwhelming comes in really, really strongly, because now you have like that no boundaries, overly resentful, martyrdom, sort of meddling energy, coupled with this sort of victim mentality, moodiness, closed off emotionally, really naive, hypersensitivity, all those things that kind of, or over trusting, right? And so it's kind of like it just sets the 6 up for this opportunity to be taken advantage of, right? And then they become resentful because they are taken advantage of, but yet all of that sort of stems from their own actions and or inaction, right? So lower expression of Pisces is just going to have them be very closed off, very withdrawn, again, hypersensitive to feel like people are taking advantage of them. The world is working against them no matter what they do. Here they are, this martyr who's here to save the world, and nobody appreciates them. And so you just see how you can kind of get stuck in this real egoic, wounded feminine energy, really, is what it comes down to. And again, that has nothing to do with gender. It's an energy. But you can see how it gets really stuck, right? And then you've also got that like more wounded masculine energy of the lower 6, which is like that dominating family members, meddling, becoming self-righteous, pompous, all of those things. And it's kind of like, it just becomes very challenging for people to want to be around you, for you to have a healthy relationship, for your experiences to be healthy, and it keeps you really stuck. And it keeps you from branching out in a more healthy, productive way, and to express yourself the way that you were meant to express yourself in this lifetime. Same thing goes, especially if you're 33 and you're in those lower expressions, which really you're going to experience those probably even more dramatically because you have so much to step into with that 33 energy. So there's a lot of like escapism in the lower Pisces energy, and you couple that again with the lower 6 energy, and you're not going to want to do for others or be that humanitarian or be charitable or nurture others because you're too stuck in your own victim mentality of feeling like you've been taken advantage of. So why would you help anybody? And really 6 energy, 33 energy especially, is meant to bring the love, is meant to beautify their surroundings, is meant to contribute, assist, be that charitable humanitarian, right? And so again, if you're in those lower expressions, you're just stuck. You're not doing anything for anyone, and you feel like the world is out to get you, and that can be very crippling. And so when we look at, well, before we go into the higher expressions, I do want to mention there's nothing wrong with the lower expressions. They are part of who you are. They are a part of your makeup, and you will continue to fall into those lower expressions in and out throughout your lifetime. And that's okay. They are always there to show you something about yourself, to show you something about your situation, to present challenges for you so that you can learn something. So the lower expressions are really about that's where the growth happens. That's where the lessons lie. That's where those challenges surface to try to show us something about ourselves that we're not doing, right? So it's like if we're in our lower expression of our 6 and we're super resentful because people are taking advantage of us, if we look at the challenges that are surfacing, we can see, I didn't set any boundaries here. Maybe I need to set some boundaries. And then as you set those healthy boundaries, you'll start to see some of those other things dissipate. And so you can see how it's like the challenges are trying to show you where it is that you are like in your own head or in your own, your own story that may not be the whole story, right? And so then you can like work with those energies to find the solutions, to pull the wisdom, and to elevate you into the higher expressions. So when we look at the higher expressions of those of Pisces and the six, we see it's very similar, very like empowered feminine energies, right? Like highly adaptable, the visionaries, kind and gentle, highly intuitive, psychic, creative, empathetic, generous, emotionally mature, laid back, agreeable. Those are Pisces, higher expression. Six, again, just being that nurturer, that creative nurturer. So with so much divine feminine energy coming at you, I could see you doing something where it's like you have a strong family that you are the like sort of the rock of the family, right? Like maybe you're the homemaker, but you are the center of that home, right? Or again, with the extended family, or if you don't have like your own family unit, maybe you are part of a greater community and the community looks at you like that, right? And like I don't know off the top of my head what Mother Teresa was. It wouldn't surprise me if she was a 33, but it kind of that sort of energy where it's like very intuitive, very nurturing, the visionary who is sort of like this pillar within the community where the community feels very brought together by this individual, or this individual brings something to the community that just beautifies it, or helps it to feel more calm and centered and stable, right? So it's just really, again, with that Pisces energy, they're so compatible, they're so similar, but yet they each bring something unique to the party, right? So if you signed up as a Pisces and a 6 or a 33, I would say that you are definitely meant to, I would see you as having, a large network or a large group that you work with or contribute to. I could see you volunteering. I could see you starting a humanitarian effort. Again, like, a very selfless contribution, you know what I mean? Or if it's just that you have a family, that's enough too. But you would be the centerpiece of that family, and it would be so nurturing. And so the love and the attention and the creativity and the balance that you bring to that family unit is assisting those family members in stepping into their own greatest expression, right? And so it all plays a role. But again, with all that Pisces, I could definitely see you also being like an intuitive or a psychic or something like that, where again, your work is assisting others in finding the deeper meaning to their lives, to, seeing the better sides of themselves, to working, to lift themselves out of a bad situation, whatever the case may be. But it's very complementary energy. It's very, it's kind of like, if you're into like ascended masters, if you know who they are, one in particular who would so embody this energy of Pisces in the 6 or 33 would be like Kuan Yin. And so if you are familiar with Kuan Yin, then you know that like she represents unconditional love. And so that's really what she would bring to the room, right? Or bring to the experience. And that's really what I just see and feel so much with this Piscean energy and this 6 and 33 energy. It's just like the epitome of like unconditional love and figuring out ways to incorporate and bring that into the community in some way, or the world, or your family unit, whatever the case may be. But in the higher elevation, Pisces in 6 or 33 energy is truly just divine. It's just such beautiful energy to work with. Lower expression, you can see you're in that like victim mentality. You're just stuck. It's not going to feel comfortable. It's going to feel very uncomfortable. When you're in that higher expression, it's going to feel very divine. It's going to feel very loving, very like you're in purpose. So I hope that this was helpful in sort of highlighting those traits for you, so that you know kind of what you're working with. Of course, this isn't exhaustive. It's in sort of a general overview. But I think it'll give you a pretty good understanding of, again, what your soul signed up for and what it wants to accomplish in this lifetime. So I hope this was beneficial. Thank you so much for listening. Take care, everyone. Bye for now.